Welcome to the Startup Leader Show, where we learn lessons from leading startup founders and executives. I'm your host, Lisa Dreher. I'm really excited to introduce our guest for today, Dr. Tom Bradicich. He is the VP and HP Fellow, Global Head of Edge and IoT Software Lab at HPE. Welcome to the show, Dr. Tom.
Well, thank you. Boy, is it fun and a privilege to be here, Lisa. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. And everybody's going to notice that you're not on video, so maybe you can tell us where you're coming to us from.
Yes, the reason I'm not on video is I want to preserve the audio connectivity, which is meager, in the Great Smoky Mountains in the southern part, or let me say mid-southern part of the United States. So I had to be here this week, but I did not want to miss this show. So thank you for still having me here. And I'm really happy to give my verbal expression here.
Well, thanks for making time for it. It sounds like a absolutely beautiful place to be. So hopefully you have some time to actually enjoy it. Maybe we can start by having you give us just a little bit of background on yourself and what's happening at HPE.
Well, great. I've been really blessed with a diverse career in primarily innovation and differentiation. And in fact, many opportunities, many jobs from a CTO to an R&D vice president. I have also been a general manager with sales responsibility and P&L responsibility. And in fact, the title that you had just stated, I have recently moved to head up some solutions and solution stacks development and marketing within HPE, Hewlett Packard Enterprise, which is my current company. And it's unique because I've been an IBM fellow, I've been a National Instruments fellow, now I'm a Hewlett Packard fellow, and it's an interesting marketing role that I've been asked to take. I think I'm the first fellow that's ever been in a marketing role, at this time. And we're looking at how to express our technology and solutions value to our customers, as opposed to point products, and as opposed to not realizing and leading with the fact that customers deploy solutions. They don't deploy a point product only. They deploy it in a recipe of many ingredients. So that's what I'm up to now, and I'm happy to be here with you and your audience.
Great. So, like I mentioned when we started, we typically speak with startup founders and executives. And so you're a little bit different of a guest for us, but I really wanted to bring you in because you have done so much work related to bringing new solutions to market and kind of that first mover advantage. And I guess the whole idea of entrepreneurship. And so maybe we can start by kind of having you talk about what is it like to try to, I guess, build a startup within an enterprise?
Well, it's replete with challenges that are not in a startup. But if you're an internal startup, entrepreneuring, as you put it, it can be very challenging, but also there's a lot of benefits because there's a lot of resources, a lot of momentum. But the way I've looked at it to drive these new ideas, and usually I've worked on things that have never been done before, products that are totally foreign to those in the business that I must compel to believe in the product or the solution or me, personally. So, for example, there was a day there was not a smartphone. And early in my career, I worked on this first smartphones. There was a day there wasn't a laptop computer or a mobile computer that everybody has now. And I literally had to explain to my boss why anyone would ever carry around a computer. Can you imagine that? Being asked, why would anybody ever carry around a computer? You have a desktop, PC, as well. So those are some of the challenges, but I like to portion them into tactical and then some philosophical ones. And tactical, you have to address three risks if you're going to be an internal entrepreneur. One is a market risk. Will somebody buy your product out there? The customer buy it? Do they want it? Is it in demand? That's an obvious one. Two is manufacturing risk. You may have an idea or a product that everybody wants. It'll be successful, but it's not manufacturable at a price point, for example, or a delivery point. And then third is the risk of your own business. And that is, does your company have what it takes to take a risk and go into that as well. And how do you manage that risk within your own business once you have solved the market demand risks and solved the manufacturing risk? The third one can actually kill, innovation as well. And the first mover advantage is so compelling that I've used to explain and address as I've gone forward, especially recently in pioneering the new product category of converged edge systems, where we combine IT and OT, operational technology, together. And can I share with you and the audience a couple of benefits of being a first mover?
Sure, absolutely.
Well, good. Number one is, if you're a first mover, then your customer can be a first mover with your product, with their marketplace. And then the second one is a little bit more of marketing and media. You get the halo effect because you are a leader, you are an innovator, you're a first mover. And I know personally, having done hundreds and hundreds of interviews and with the media and with analysts, that you're in demand when you're a first mover with something good. Third one is a supply side. You can command a higher margin, a higher profit margin, because you're the sole inhabitant of that particular offering, that particular product. And a fourth one is you can learn because you've entered the market. You can gain learnings. And then when your competitors follow you and they do their first version, then you are on your 2.0 version with all the learnings, of the market. And then the fifth one I look at is, now your customers can trust you for the next new idea. Because remember, when you're a first mover, you're introducing to your own business and your customers something they've never seen before. And that's difficult in life, right? Because there's no comparison, because it doesn't exist before. So one of the ways to be successful is you have to appeal to some level of familiarity, right? And
Sure.
you have to appeal to many times your own track record, right? So I know you don't understand what I'm saying here, but there is going to be a market, right, for this particular product and offering, and here's why. And what I like to say when I mentor people is, look, when you have an idea for a product or a new product category, there's a difference, right? A new product category is, for example, the first automobile created a new product category called automobiles, right? The first laptop computer created a new category called laptop computers. And every laptop computer or mobile computer after that was not a new product category, but a new product within the category. So category creation is even harder than just a brand new product. But what I like to say is, when nobody gets your idea of a new category that's never been done before, that's a good sign. When people disagree and don't get it, because it's likely very novel and has never been done before. So don't be
Mhm.
discouraged, as well. In fact, use that as encouragement to help you explain why it's a good business. So let me just stop there and see where you'd like to take the conversation.
Great, great. So, yeah, you've unpacked so many things here. Where do we want to focus? I think that one of the things that is really interesting is that we have all these case studies of these large enterprise companies that were very successful, and then these new things come to market, either from a startup or from an existing enterprise, to compete with their position as a leader. How do you, within a very successful enterprise, get things moving on something new that's never been done before, that maybe people aren't ready to believe in yet?
Yeah, that's an excellent point. What I like to say is, if you're going to be a first mover, you have to believe everything is temporary. And not only your market position, Lisa, like you pointed out, which could be threatened, but also the inhibitors to your idea are usually temporary. Let me give you an example. If I were to go back in time and meet you, uh, I don't know, let's say 15 years ago, maybe you had a BlackBerry perhaps, or you had a, anyway, that's not as relevant. As the point is, if I were to meet you 15 years ago and say, Lisa, how many full length, high definition movies did you watch in your handheld device this week? What would your answer be?
Zero.
It would be zero, because, right, the state, right, the essence or the status is, I can't. I might have a cell phone only without even a screen. I might have a BlackBerry at the first time, that didn't have that capability.
Right.
And so, therefore, if I ran back to my company and said, "Oh, bad news! I pulled Lisa and everybody else, and nobody watches movies in their hands," therefore, high definition connectivity and screens are not going to be a market, right? You see the fallacy there. So you
Yeah.
always have to say that's temporary, right? And I always used to say, how many laptops, mobile computers were sold before the first one? See, that's the difference between a new product category. The answer is zero, right? So you have no history. So new product categories are not based on necessarily market data. In fact, they're not even data driven as much as they are judgment, right? And visionary driven.
Hmm.
And I think about Steve Jobs, God rest his soul, and the challenge he had by saying, he held up a cell phone and said, I'm going to cram a music player into that. And by the way, you ain't seen nothing yet. I'm going to put a GPS in there and also a camera. I'm going to take over the mid-range digital camera market with this, particular device, right? So
Hmm.
I'm this may be historic fiction I'm creating here, but I'm saying that's the challenge you have. You have to begin to express something that people have never seen before, and I've always appreciated this saying. I'd love to attribute whoever said it first. I can't remember, but people are more likely to adopt your point of view if they're allowed to arrive at it themselves. So that's
Mm.
why you have to come forward with facts, but they're not historic facts. They're not market data facts. No analyst can help you, right? No industry analyst necessarily,
Right.
because it's not a trend, to look at.
Hmm.
You're literally a trend creator.
Right. So when you think about some of the, first mover products that you've had a role in building and bringing to market, what would you say have been the biggest keys to the success of making that happen?
Yeah, it is absolutely. First of all, I would I attribute I like to give attribution to my background, to God who gave me my skills and abilities, to my wife and my parents who supported me, and my mentors. And let me hone in on that, right? You have to find someone in authority. If you're a visionary, many times in corporate, at least let me say corporate America, visionaries are not in charge of the money, and the people in charge of the money are not necessarily the visionaries. Now, there are exceptions to that rule. But if you're in a situation, you must appeal to the authority who has the money, who has the ability to shift the resources onto what you're working on, right? As well. So, one of the keys to success is to find a senior person who will affirm what you're thinking, even if they don't understand it. They believe in you, right? And number two, they can fund it because it takes money, right? And a most recent new product category, invention that I worked on, we had a third party partner, actually, not even within our company, supplement the income. So you have to find these people who believe in it, and they have to have some authority, right? Not just a friend or your close relative or something that says, "Yeah, I believe in you," as well. A second thing that you have to have is it's a team. And think about this: sometimes you have a chicken and egg dynamic. You have a chicken and egg dynamic happening. How do you demonstrate the viability when you don't have any money? But how do you get the money unless you demonstrate viability, right?
Right. Well, and also when you're the incumbent in a market, right? A lot of times whatever the new product is that you're trying to bring to market can often be something that will displace that incumbent offering. So I think within enterprises, it can be really challenging to say, let's move some of the money that we would spend keeping our market position with our current products so that we can launch these new products that are untested, unproven, right?
Oh, you're so right. That sometimes is called cannibalizing, right? Um,
Yes.
a current product, and that's very tricky because my experience here has been scaling, right, in big corporations. That's been my experience, starting from nothing, literally ideas, and
Mhm.
working with teams to scale into multi-billion-dollar business. I mean, very huge businesses. But how do you do that? Because there's not enough money to necessarily protect the core, as you say, right? Because you also have
Right.
a brand to protect, a reputation to protect, social responsibility, revenue, massive stockholder holdings, right, in large corporations. But at the same
Right.
time, how do you siphon that money? That's the dilemma. And here's something interesting I found. I think it's a key to success. I'm happy to share with you. Now, listen to this. In any large organization, there's usually misutilized resource and underutilized resource. Okay. Now, I'm not saying this is a negative. This is just a fundamental of large, tens of hundreds of thousands of employees, right? There's going to be
Sure.
some underutilized skill and resource and misutilized. And many times that skill or that person, let me personalize it, knows they're underutilized or misutilized, right, in a way. Find those people and go with them. That's what is exciting about this. And you can build a team of people who will continue to do their current job. That's not the idea of switching jobs early on here, but will also contribute to your vision and make it happen with either, real product or research or, affirmation or whatever the case may be. And so I've many times as I've analyzed and looked back on the success factors, the critical success factors of intrapreneuring, and you're not getting money up front on an idea or a slideshow, right? You have to get more and more momentum behind it. And when you can build that team, and that team can also mean partners. Almost every time, as I think through this, a new product category, and I've been able to contribute to creating 4 new product categories in my career, we've had third party, other companies come alongside as well. Now, when you do that, you not only get the people working for you to produce and get to a next level to now get serious funding, serious resources, but the second thing you're doing is you have another voice. You're no longer the sole inhabitant in that field of discourse that's claiming, oh, this new category should exist, right? You've got, especially if that third party is external, right, as well as internal.
Mhm.
So those are a couple of success points, or let me say success factors in being able to build something that's never been done before.
Right, right. So as you've brought some of these solutions to market, are there, I guess, mistakes that you've made that you think, "Oh gosh, I wouldn't wanna do that thing again."
Yeah, in my personal life or business life.
Business.
Okay, yeah, that's a shorter list. Okay, let me say this. Um, yes, here's the one I learned. The very first new product category I was able to work on is what we call the enterprise blade server. Uh, Now, blades had existed in a form factor for a while, but not in an enterprise data center. And I was fortunate to be the leader of the team to create that new product category. It grew to be very successful. I think today it's maybe pushing, not quite sure, but maybe almost 20 billion, right? This particular market segment, the enterprise blade server. Now, what the mistake I made is I did not get my customer input early on. And this is key. You absolutely must share the vision with end users, those who will buy the product and use the product, right? As well. And so when I went forward with this, and I remember it was a vice president of a large bank, a vice president of IT of a large bank, this data center product, we missed a feature. And the interesting thing is that I was scolded by my customer because they really liked this idea of a enterprise blade server, right?
Mhm.
But hey, you blew it was sort of and I'm thinking, wow, this person is hard, but also on my side. And that gave me the idea that what I didn't do, to answer your question, is create what I call today an inspiration customer. And an inspiration customer is someone who will see your dirty laundry, want to help you, and then will likely be a fellow traveler with the beta, alpha, and then of course volume, purchase as well. So that's one thing I missed out on, and I could have perhaps got to market sooner. Time to revenue, right? Time to market would have been would appreciated there. Um, I should share with you then on that question another point about people.
Mhm.
Um, it took me a longer time, again, back to what things I wish I would have done different, to realize the personal dimension of people is a bigger game going on than the business. Now, this is obvious, I think, to most people and all of us, but My point in saying that is people are frequently going through struggles and challenges. And it's very important to put aside the product and enjoy the process, right? The two P's.
Mhm.
Are you a product person, mean you want to just get the product and get the job done, right? Or are you a process person, which enjoys it? And then secondly, related to that is there's a social dimension to doing business that I ignored early in my career. I used to keep it very separate, right? Personal as well. Fortunately, by mid-career and later on, I was made aware, of the value of engaging, and people do business with people, they like and they trust, right? As well.
Yeah.
And that is done many times in a non-business, in a social setting. So there's a couple of things I would do different.
Great, great. So I want to end with one last question, and that is if you could make one prediction about the future of technology, what would it be?
Only one? Okay.
Only one.
One that fascinates me is predictability. Who does not want to predict the future? We've got all kinds of mysterious things going on with tarot cards and horoscopes and fortune tellers. Who doesn't want to know? What should I take this job? Who should I marry? Am I going to be ill? What is the market going to do? Should I, buy this home? Everybody wants to predict the future, and I find this fascinating. And therefore, one way to predict the future is with data, large samples of data. If anyone who studies probability analysis of an outcome of the future, the sample size is called n, in the mathematics is larger. And since the edge is providing that, and IoT, the T, the things and edge is providing enormous amounts of not only voluminous data, but diverse data, I believe that the future will be this. And here's my point. In the future, its future will be easier to predict. So if we let that digest a minute, the more and more we go into the future, right, and we advance technology, then the predictability of the future will be easier because we'll have advanced AI algorithms, we'll have more data, as I just pointed out, particularly from the IoT, as well. So predicting things like markets, weather, elections, vacation behaviors, etc., will be easier and easier as the years go on in the future, and it'll all be because of IT through the three C's: connectivity, which will be pervasive. I call them the three PCs. Uh, Let me say perpetual connectivity. The second PC is pervasive computing, and the third PC is precision control.
Mm.
And the ability to get all that data computed and then control things like your business, some things we can't control necessarily now, like the weather. But the point is, the more we can do that, the more we'll be able to have large data sets to more accurately predict the future. That's my answer.
Okay. Well, we'll have to get together again as this comes to pass. I guess we lose all of our our kind of seat of our pants kind of stuff though. Man, I don't know if I want to lose that completely. So I think I might just be unpredictable just for the sake of being unpredictable then.
Well, it's predictable. You'd want to be unpredictable. So,
Exactly. Well, great. Well, thanks so much for being here today, Dr. Tom. Enjoy your location, and we look forward to speaking with you again.
okay, it was my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Lisa. And everyone listening, thanks for listening. Hope you all have a good day. Stay safe.